So, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing good. How about you?
Yeah, I'm fantastic, doing fantastic in my life by the grace of Almighty God, and thanks for your kind concern.
So, would you like to please introduce yourself to me a bit?
Well, I'm working in forest department as a clerk. I born and brought up in India, and my native place is Uttarakhand. By profession, I'm a central government employee, and as far as my academic qualification concerned, I'm done with my master in English, master in commerce, and this year I'm pursuing my master in economics. This is my final year. In addition to this, I do teach English to beginners and intermediate speakers through different online applications, and I do have my own YouTube channel by the name of English with Teachership.
That's amazing. So, where are you exactly based in Uttarakhand?
I do live in city Dehradun, the capital.
Okay, that's amazing. So, the weather must be really nice over there. I'm from Chandigarh. So, it has started raining today, but otherwise, Chandigarh is having scorching heat and it's really horrible the weather over here. Like, we just want to escape to the mountains all the time. So, when you're living in mountains, do you think about visiting to the plain areas or you find the mountain lives to be easier?
I would say, ma'am, I'm really happy in Uttarakhand only because the weather, climate both are really awesome. Means the one who is planning to visit here with your family, it's really a good place I can say for visit. And when it comes to Chandigarh, yes, I have visited once 2 years back there, and I visited that rock garden, I guess. And the place is so beautiful, neat and clean. I love their accommodation. They have like the systematic road and everything is really up to the mark. Means government is working a lot in that particular state. Yes.
Yes, Chandigarh is a union territory and Chandigarh is having all the facilities. But right now, because the governments have changed, many things are going wrong. For example, electricity has become a huge issue in Chandigarh, and that's happening over here after many years. And we are facing a lot of electricity cuts and electricity fluctuations. And as a matter of fact, yesterday only in my house the AC it got blasted because there were constant fluctuations.
Yeah, ma'am, it happens. It's all about politics. If the government is going to change, there are so many things that would change as well, right? Not even electricity. In fact, there are so many things that could be changed. And sometimes I feel that changement is good when it comes to in our favor, but sometimes I feel that no, changement is not good when it's something that is not in our favor. So hope for the best. That's the only thing that I can say about it.
Well, I think changes should come only when required. If we induce a change which was not necessary, then it ends up giving some repercussions which were uncalled for. For example, what is exactly happening in Chandigarh right now? People just voted for a different party because they wanted a change. There was no specific reason for which they wanted a change, but they wanted a change as people like to change their clothes. And now everybody is facing these consequences because Chandigarh is the capital of Punjab and Haryana. So never in life Chandigarh has faced this much electricity cuts. Punjab used to face it earlier as well, but right now the condition of Chandigarh is no less than Punjab. So it's becoming horrible, especially in my sector. My sector is considered to be a posh area where we rarely had one electricity cut per year, and that too of only 15 to 20 minutes. But right now it's like it's happening every single day for at least 5 or 6 times, and I don't know what's this happening and what's the basic reason behind inducing electricity cuts?
Uh, I'm great, and what can I say about it? Like I'm speechless because you know what? We all are just ordinary people. We can't do anything, especially when it comes to we are expecting the change, and when change occurs, then it's not in our favor. And we don't have anything to say except repent, regret, and guilt on our decision, like why we had made that decision in order to change the government. If the government is doing good work, I think we should not change it. This is what my perception. As you said in your initial conversation, that change is only good when it is required. And if it is not required and you are going to alter something, and you are just creating a trap of sorrowness, sadness, and so many anxieties that people have been facing so long. So that could be a ramification of that only. And more or less, I have one question for you, ma'am. But the motive behind to connect it with you is just I want to know from your side, like how you improve your spoken English. Because when I'm listening to you, I'm feeling that I'm talking to an English teacher. So, are you an English teacher in your real?
Yes, I am. I'm an IELTS and a French teacher. But when it comes to me learning English, I would say for me it was a simultaneous thing. I never learned it afterwards. So when I started learning my mother tongue, that's Hindi. At the same point of time, I started learning English because in my home, English is also spoken. So for me, it was a simultaneous development. And then my schooling was also from a private school, and I was participating in debates and all. So for me, English never came as learning a language, but it was just a part of me growing up.
Wow, it means you are so lucky and fortunate that you're blessed with this kind of beautiful skills in yourself. Because I hope you know very well there are many people who have been struggling a lot in order to master this language, but in your case, you are already blessed with this language because you don't need to learn it. So I hope like there are so many co-learners with whom you have connected before, and they've asked this question to you, like if any learner wants to acquire this language and he wants to improve himself. So, what are the tips and tricks you have shared with them so that you can learn this language?
Okay, well, see, the first thing is that even though I always had this opportunity and the blessing that I never had to learn this language extensively, as it was always a part of my upbringing, but I would also like to highlight that there are many people who do not know English and they have to start from the scratches. And learning a foreign language always requires efforts because I told you I'm not just an English teacher, I also teach French, and French definitely is a language which I learned at a later stage of my life. I think learning of any of the foreign languages of the world happens in the same way. So the first thing that comes is you need to start immersing yourself in the language. That means start watching the movies, music, because with that what happens is that you start getting acquainted to the culture. Language is not just a way of speaking. Language is not only about words, but it is also about being able to understand their expressions, right? Because in every language there are certain idioms which only a native speaker or somebody who knows the culture and the way of thinking can comprehend. And moreover, when we start listening to other people, our brain better starts accumulating that language and it starts to accept it. The second thing is do focus on your grammar. Because if you do not focus on grammar, you won't be able to make perfect sentences. Grammar in every single language, whether it's a foreign language or it's your own mother tongue, grammar plays an important role. When you are in a situation like mine, that you have been always in an environment where English has existed, then you don't have to learn grammar separately because you listen to people speaking all the time. So, you know, this is how we make sentences. But when it's a foreign language altogether, you need to know first that how exactly do we have to make the sentences. And for that, rules definitely become extremely important because otherwise without that what we'll be having with us is only dictionary, and dictionary is not equal to language, right? But grammar is not the end of the world, definitely. After grammar, start practicing. And for practicing, I don't just mean speaking, but also writing. Because writing starts to give you a clarity of thought in your expression in that particular language. So once you start developing a clarity of thought in that language, you can think about being able to express yourself in complex situations. Because we might have observed that many a times people will say that I can speak in English, but when I am among friends or in a party or something, I'm unable to converse properly. That is because your brain does not know how to gather your ideas in that particular language. So, for that, first step has to be writing, and then it should progressively lead towards speaking. And I think there should be a blend of both the things happening simultaneously. And then there are multiple techniques, like, for example, shadowing technique. Then we have read aloud. And there are many things available which can be tips and tricks. But the right way forward of learning a language needs to be bit planned and organized. But yes, if you only want to be able to speak, then I think you can follow just the tips and tricks, follow, go with the shadowing technique, listen to people, and that'll solve the purpose. But if you actually want to be an expert in that language, so that you are comfortable in that language, so that you are able to even dream in that language, then in that case, I think it should be a plan and a structured thing.
Yeah, that's true. Like, until unless we are not going to immerse ourselves with this language, we are not going to learn it in the way as we are expecting from our side. Thank you for your beautiful tips and tricks. And moreover, my next question for you that what do you believe about it? Like, what's the difference between an accent and pronunciation? And in your point of view, which one is more important and why?
Okay. Well, the thing is, I am sorry to say this, as many people might not find it acceptable, but being an Indian, I do not ever want to speak in a British or in an American accent. Accents vary according to the country because accents are a way, a personality of that race and that country has developed. Correct? So when we start adapting another accent, because learning accents is not a difficult thing at all. And even you must be knowing that, right? So I can speak in other accents, but I never ever speak in any other accent than my natural Indian accent. And the reason behind that is I want everybody to think about the videos that we see on Instagram. Right now, we can see that there are many people who live in foreign. They try to speak in Punjabi or in Hindi. There was a very popular song recently. I'm unable to recall the name, in which she was singing a Punjabi song with Diljit, I believe. Right? And everybody in India appreciated her to an extent that we can't even imagine. And she sang that entire song in her accent. That means she was singing a Punjabi song in an English accent. And we were so open and so acceptable about it, right? So if we can accept our original language in their accent, then why we should not promote an international language? Because English is not a language of the UK, America, Australia, or anywhere. It's an international language. So why we should not promote our own accent? Because if we don't start appreciating it, others will not. And I think it's just because of the colonialism beliefs that we think that the perfect English is the one that is having an accent. But the perfect English is the one which is having the correct pronunciation, proper structuring of sentences, and some good range of vocabulary. For me, that is the proper English because that's the language. So I told you that I can speak English and I can speak French. So for neither of the two languages, I use any other accent because languages are not defined by accent.
Well, that's really great. I'm being flabbergasted and mesmerized the way you have elaborated every single thing. And my next question for you is that what do you believe, like the one who is not having a grammar rule and regulation and he wants to speak English, is it possible for him to speak in English without any grammar rules or not?
See, there are two things. Number one, a person does not know grammar at all. And the second thing, the person has not learned the grammar. Not knowing and not learning are two separate things. So if a person does not know grammar, one cannot obviously speak in that language. But if a person has not learned the language, but has accustomed himself or herself to that language, and that may be either by listening to native speakers or by watching movies or by looking at the podcasts or the interviews. So we have subconsciously just accepted the grammar. So grammar will always be required. It can either be an intentional learning and it can also be an unintentional learning. Over here also we can pick the example with the help of our original languages as well. So before we even enrolled ourselves in school, we were able to speak the correct sentences in our original language, right? And that did not mean that we did not know the grammar. It just meant that we did not learn the grammar. But we knew the grammar because we were listening to our parents, our relatives, our friends speaking in that language. So our brain just understood how we are supposed to join the sentences. So knowing grammar is important. We cannot ignore it. But learning or not learning can vary according to person. Yeah, that can be a thing that's subjective. But knowing grammar is quintessential. This cannot be ignored.
Wow, that's really a great answer. Perfection. And what do you believe about vocabularies? Because I've seen many times, like people know very well what exactly they want to speak, but their mind goes blanks because they don't have those terminologies which they want to use while speaking. So, how one can improve his vocabularies, and what are the exercises that you can suggest to them that they can recall those vocabs whenever those vocabs required in terms of spoken English?
First of all, I want everybody to understand when we say that we require vocabulary, we do not mean that we need to learn all the words of the dictionary. We need vocabulary initially in order to be able to express ourselves, right? So, when you are a complete beginner, what you can do, and please apply these rules not only for English but for any other foreign language as well. If you are a complete beginner and you don't even know basic vocabulary, for example, television, table, and every single equipment that is present in your house, then first of all, start writing those words on a sticky note and start pasting it on those objects. So that whenever you go there, you are able to see what is this object called. So this is what a basic vocabulary would start from, right? Then we come to the intermediate level in which we are able to express ourselves. So, whenever we have to express ourselves, we need certain words, and those words do not need to be very fancy. For example, if I want to say something is important, I can say it's important. I don't have to say it's quintessential. Quintessential will show that I have a wide range of vocabulary, and that's going to happen in due course of time. But the first thing is that you should know the word important, right? So, first of all, collect basic vocabulary with the help of which you are able to express every single thought that you are having. And in that, you don't need to include fancy vocabulary at all. Keep it very simple. I told you that I have been into debating and I'm a public speaker and I host events as well. So, my approach towards speaking in any of the languages that if I am addressing 500 people, then the person who knows that language to the least extent should also be able to understand what I'm speaking. That means my English does not always have to be the Shashi Tharoor level. It needs to be a level which everybody can understand, right? Because why do we speak? We speak so that people can understand us. There are two things. One, you are preparing for spoken English so that you're able to interact with people. And the second is that you are preparing for spoken English for maybe some competitive exams or for becoming an expert in literature. So, first of all, you need to be clear with your goals and then you have to follow that path accordingly. But for sure, nothing is going to happen overnight. I will not say this to anybody that start learning 10 words every single day and start applying them because you cannot force any situation to happen where you can apply those words, right? So start with the theme based vocabulary, the one which you require most of the times. Because once that starts happening, then once you're comfortable with the language, you'll obviously start reading in that language. You'll obviously start listening to other people, to celebrities of even your own country, and everybody uses fancy words. Then with time you can replace your basic vocabulary with advanced vocabulary, but first get a grasp over basic and intermediate levels so that you are able to express no matter what, so that you don't have to think that this is what I want to speak, but I cannot convey it. So that is what I believe learning vocabulary should be more about.
Wow, that's really impressive. The way you're answering my questions, I'm literally fascinated, and it's really remarkable. Moreover, I do have a lot of in my plate, but just because of this application, like if this video is going too long, so we are not even going to save it in our gallery. It was really nice, wonderful, fruitful, and productive conversation with you. I have enjoyed a lot. Hopefully, you as well. And for sure, I'll talk to you again in future whenever you'll get the time. And thanks more for accepting my request, Nara, to connect with me.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me over here. It was lovely talking to you.